Hi there, welcome to Art with Korb. I'm Frank Korb. Today we're going to deal with abstracting from observation. Thanks for joining me. So before we got started, I've already dealt with some of the preliminary things that I've had to do. One second. Prior to getting started, I've already taken care of some of the things that I really have to do, and that's to find photographs, or not necessarily photographs, but images that I wanted to work from. So in this case, I've gone out and made some photographs of landscapes that I really enjoyed, from local area barns with great dramatic shadows to, well, some more larger spaces, big open fields, lovely open sky, running out of ink, to these really wide open, vast vistas. I don't know that that's technically a vista, but it's a field. After I've got my imagery chosen, and that's important for us to always use our own imagery, then what we do is we take it up to the idea of a thumbnail sketch. And what a thumbnail sketch is a small, tiny little sketch on your larger piece of paper that gives you some ideas as to where to go. Obviously, I'm working from this first image, and I've done one thumbnail to kind of get an idea of what I wanted to deal with. And then a second thumbnail, which gave me a cropped image that emphasizes the tree on the side, the openness of the sky, and then a little corner of the barn. And so really the first thing that you want to deal with is coming up with your compositions. After I've come up with my composition from my image, and I'm going to keep this image in front of me as I work, then I start to work on a much more realistic drawing. Granted, I didn't put in every little branch and every little thing in here, but remember, my goal here is not to paint a realistic picture or draw a realistic picture. It's to deal with an abstraction. So I still get that same idea. I do have a pretty good rendering of my barn. I've even included things like shadows, the details of the siding, little clouds up in the sky. Also the shadows down here, some of the branches and sticks, and then even the gradation of the sky as it comes down. So I'm not dealing with something that is totally abstract. From my realistic observation drawing, and this probably took me a half hour or so to draw, so you don't have to sit through and watch me do that. From here, what I'm going to do, and note this is step one, from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to abstract it. Now I'm going to go through this abstraction in 2 or 3 different steps. I'm not going to rely just on one and done. I'm going to really work this piece. So what I've been able to get for myself is tracing paper. And if you don't have tracing paper, that's fine. Tracing paper is just a thin, transparent piece of paper. And so what I'm going to do here, and I'll walk you through this a little bit, is I'm going to simplify this to start with. So this is step 2. Remember, step 1, provide your photographs or your images. You could have a still life. You could set things up in front of you if you wanted, or a portrait. We could do a portrait. Step 2 is actually to do your realistic drawing. And then step 3, although this is our step 2 drawing, is to start to simplify. I'm going to quickly reestablish my format box so that I know the sense of composition I'm working in, that proportion of my picture plane. And then I'm going to simplify by finding some of the more dominant shapes, some of the more dominant spaces that I want to work with. I'm going to go quickly in this. I'm actually going to take a good amount of time, but we'll speed it up. So this is actually still pretty realistic in comparison to the original. It's a little bit more abstracted from the photograph, but it still has all of the tenets of that original image. It still has the tree in proportion. It still has the barn in proportion. We still have that transition in the sky, but I've simplified it by breaking it down into some pretty basic shapes. A lot of organic shapes happening over here, and a lot of geometric shapes happening over here. The next step is to abstract it even more. Now, if you don't have tracing paper, that's okay. You can abstract it straight on the original drawing by just taking a heavier sense of line. I mean, you're going to, in the end, lose this drawing, but that's okay. It's just a process. You can outline with a darker pencil, and then build that up. The next step that I'm going to do is, I happen to have a couple more sheets of tracing paper. I'm going to lay my new sheet of tracing paper over the top of my first sheet of tracing paper, and then I'm going to continue to abstract. Now, this time what I'm going to do is I might start to expand lines and join shapes. I might expand things down further, or completely cut across and completely cut down and through. So again, I'm going to do some drawing here. Go ahead and listen to the lovely music and watch as I create my, this is step 3 in my abstraction from observation. And so from that abstraction, it looks a lot different than my first. So from my photograph, to my drawing, to my first abstraction, to my second abstraction, and I may very well even take this one to one more level where I really abstract it and I start to lose some of this sense of geometry happening in this. So go ahead, do a step 3, do a step 4, do a step 5. But in the end, we're really basing this all on that idea of observation. Now, where do I go after this? Well, I'll probably take it up to a piece of watercolor paper or to a piece of canvas and work it in acrylics or oils. Maybe I'll take pastels to it, but however you do it, that's one way to go from a real strong sense of observation based on imagery that you've created to a nicely rendered sketch, which is always a good idea to get a good feel for what we're dealing with, to a sense of simplification, and then final simplification, and then wherever you take it from there. Well, that's all I've got. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate your time. Don't forget to draw. Don't forget to practice. Don't forget to subscribe to me and share me. And again, that's like the first time I've talked to you about this, but let's make sure that we keep drawing, keep making art. Thanks a lot. Stay safe. Take care.